Hello, this lecture is about congressional committees and caucuses. Woodrow Wilson once said that Congress on the floor is Congress on public exhibition. Congress in committee is a Congress at work. Also, fun fact, Woodrow Wilson, not Warren Wilson, is the only president to have served as a teacher beforehand. Having said that, he was also really racist, but, you know. Committees. There are several different types. This picture here is of a FEMA budget meeting in the House Appropriations Committee. The Appropriations Committee deals with, like, what money gets appropriated where, and FEMA is our, like, disaster relief organization. Division of labor is how committee work is divvied up. And a committee is a group of people delegated to consider, investigate, take action on, or report on some matter. Most committees deal with bills. Oh my goodness. Other committees work on investigations. So there's a temporary committee that investigated Benghazi. Actually, just kidding. There were 6 temporary committees that investigated Benghazi at different times in the past, like 2 to 3 years. Currently, there are investigative committees on, like, the Trump election ties to Russia and things like that. So they don't always do bills. Most of the time, that's what they do, though. There are 4 types of committees. There's standing, which is permanent, select, joint, and conference. Standing committees, as I said, are permanent, and they deal with similar bills. There are 20 standing committees in the House and 16 standing committees in the Senate, and usually their work is divided up further into subcommittees. So here's a list of different Senate committees. There's Agriculture, Nutrition, Forestry, Appropriations, the Armed Services, blah, 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 blah. But, like, take, for example, the Veterans Affairs Committee. That might be split up further into different subcommittees, one on, like, payments to veterans and another for specific medical insurance issues with veterans. So committees often split up their work further into smaller subcommittees. Then there's the House committees. Again, there are 20 of those, permanent ones, and here they are: Agriculture, Science, Space and Technology, Intelligence, Ways and Means. The Ways and Means, by the way, is the committee that creates rules, or helps to create rules. They often work with the Rules Committee, but they help form regulations for Congress during every session. So right now there's a Ways and Means Committee in the 115th Congress that is actively working on how they will run the Congress, and the Rules Committee works with them to create rules for debate and things like that. Now you might notice that in the Senate there's a Rules and Administration Committee. There aren't separate committees. That's because there are fewer rules in the Senate because there are less people. So they have less committee work in that area. Select committees are temporary, and they're created to study a specific topic of national importance or interest. So select committees would be more of those investigative types. Then there are joint and conference committees. Joint committees are composed of members from both houses, the Senate and the House, and they mostly meet up to iron out issues in bills when the House and Senate aren't able to pass identical versions of the same bill. And so they'll often create a bill in a conference committee and send it back to the House and the Senate in hopes that that new joint committee bill will pass. Conference committees resolve differences between bills that have passed both houses. So they work together with the joint. They also ensure that the bills get passed on to the president, and they're also the committees that would hypothetically be in charge of overriding vetoes or ensuring that they could override vetoes in a vote. The House Rules Committee is the traffic cop of legislation in the House of Representatives. They need a traffic cop because there are so many of them, because they're all so young and so unruly all of the time. A lot of bills die in standing committee, but the ones that make it through immediately go to the Rules Committee. To receive a rule for consideration from the full House, you have to be passed by this committee. So if there is a bill that has popular support and that might pass Congress, but the Rules Committee is from a different party that doesn't support it, then they can actually stop it from ever reaching debate. So it's kind of a stopgap measure. Then there are committee chairpersons. These people are chosen based on the seniority rule, meaning you get better committee positions the longer that you've been in Congress. And members of the majority party get to appoint those people. Hold on just a second. I can't pause it. I can't pause it. Never mind. I'll just hang up. Alright, so there are a few review questions for your flipped assignment. Just paraphrase the question and write A, B, C, D, or E. Your first question is, of the following members of Congress, who will be most likely to be chosen the head of the House of Appropriations Committee when the majority is Republican? So you need to look at party and how long they've been in Congress to establish which of these people would most likely be chosen the head of an Appropriations Committee, which is a highly coveted position. Your second flipped assignment is another multiple choice question. A congressional committee was created to investigate the 2010 oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. What kind of committee would that be? And then your third flipped assignment, again, another multiple choice question. If the House Rules Committee does all of the following, it does all of the following except which one? All right, congressional caucuses. These are informal organizations within Congress. Some of the more well-known, probably I think the biggest caucus actually in the Senate or in the House and Senate is the Black Caucus. But there are over 300 caucuses, and again, that's just an organization of people within Congress. It's confusing because we talk about primaries and caucuses. That's a different type of caucus. This is just a group of people within Congress. You can have political caucuses. Obviously, Democrats and Republicans count as caucuses. Then there are ideological. There are the Blue Dog Democrats. There's the Tea Party Caucus, which recently has been calling themselves the Freedom Caucus, and Mark Meadows is a member of it. And then again, there are the racial ones. There's the Black Caucus and the Hispanic Caucus. And again, the Black Caucus, outside of the Democratic and Republican caucuses, right now is the largest caucus, but the Hispanic Caucus is getting bigger. Caucuses pressure, they put pressure on committee meetings and hearings and for votes on bills. So, like for example, if there is a bill that the Freedom Party supports, basically the Tea Party in Congress, then they can try to insert themselves into committee meetings and hearings. They can try to get good positions of leadership or within committees, maybe even in the rule department. And they can try to pressure their fellow Republicans into voting for the things that they want. But they're more likely to vote together as a unit because they have the most things in common. All right, I think that's it. I will see you all tomorrow.